Hey everybody, how you doing? So this is the Why Would You Think That podcast. I'm going to be breaking down pretenders or contenders, and then the second part of this segment is going to be talking about can they recover group. So here's the context: pretender or contender. I'm going to be talking about 2-0 teams after week 2 in the NFL. The context is pretender contender as it pertains to making the playoffs. Yeah, we'll just go into the format of making the playoffs, and then as the season progresses, I'll talk about out of these teams and other teams whether they have legitimate shot to do damage as they go. So we'll start off with the team we just saw Monday night, Raiders. I think they're a contender. I think Chargers and Broncos are really going to play themselves out of the race for the AFC West. I think Chiefs will get it, but with the additional playoff spot, I think Raiders could really be in contention for getting the sixth or seventh seed in the AFC West. Plus, if Derek Carr continues to just play smart football and that offense just executes at the level that I at least saw Monday night, and they keep their defense off the field for long stretches like they did by running the ball and executing at a high level, I could really see the Raiders making the playoffs and being a contender for that. All right, we'll move on. Seahawks Sunday night, who just got to 2-0 on Sunday Night Football. Seahawks scare me. Not gonna lie, I do not like their personnel. I think other than Russell Wilson and a couple other players, their team just doesn't match up on a roster by roster basis with other teams. I think this team will go as far as Russ carries them because their defense is porous. I mean, the Patriots went in there and game planned the heck around that defense. I know they have Jamal Adams, but what else do they truly have? Think about it. They have Bobby Wagner. Love Bobby Wagner. But other than those two players, their secondary is extremely thin with the injuries, and then Quandre Diggs got ejected Sunday. He's a good player, but I think the Seahawks can be had with in a playoff situation or later in the season rather, where there's game plans built entirely around exploiting the foibles of this team. Okay, Titans moved to 2-0. I think they are a serious contender for making the playoffs considering how bad that division is. Texans have a chance to go to 0-3. Jags, I don't think are in a position to win many games, and I don't think the Colts with Philip Rivers have sustainable ways to win games. I think the Titans could win their division and make a solid case that they will be above average seed in the AFC. They are currently at 2-0. I view them as a contender. Steelers, pretender, contender, 2-0. And again, here's the thing: we could argue that the Steelers have beaten one of the worst record-wise teams at the end of the year, Giants and Broncos. I wasn't really impressed with their performance against the Broncos. Obviously, they held Saquon Barkley to was it 15 or 6 yards. It was ridiculously low yards with that Steelers defensive front. I really like that front. If they are going to be a contender, they're going to lean on that. Ben has played well. James Conner played well week 2. I don't trust him to stay healthy long term. I think that could be scary for the Steelers, but I think they are a contender. I don't think they're going to win their division with the Ravens sitting there, which leads me into the Ravens. 2-0, definite contender, definite chance to do real damage later on. We get to see them play the Chiefs Monday Night Football this next week. I'm super psyched to be able to watch that game. I think it's going to be absolute theater, absolute contender. Ravens put the body bag on the Texans. They absolutely destroyed the Browns in week 1. I really like the Ravens, how they're coached, how they handle their business. And if you look at them, it's like, how do you attack them? I think I'm a little bit wrong with being able to exploit their aggressiveness on defense when Calais Campbell now coming at you in that front, all those pass rushers. The secondary seems to be doing better without Earl Thomas after they dropped him. Ravens, absolute contender. Let's move on to their opponent Monday Night Football, who will be the Chiefs. Absolute contender. I'm a little bothered by what I saw against the Chargers. Not going to lie, maybe they had their guard down against a dude who they knew was going to be a raw rookie, but I'm a little concerned. The Chargers were able to run the football. That's one thing you can't fake in the NFL. There can be flukes on pass plays or whatever have you, but when the team is able to line up, run the football, and move you and just get to where they need to be, That's something you can't fake. That's something that I really did bother me, and I know even with Chris Jones playing, Chris Jones one of the better D tackles in football. The Chargers were able to get some run game going. That scares me a little bit going against the Ravens. But the Chiefs are absolutely a contender, being the defending champs and just how they're built. All right, Cardinals 2-0. I think they're well. This is going to get really tricky in the NFC West. I think they're a contender for a playoff spot. Kyler Murray making that year 1 to year 2 jump. The Cardinals defense playing with more energy with Chandler Jones, Patrick Peterson. Oh my gosh. Anyways, Buda Baker, who they just signed long term. The defense plays with high energy. Kyler is electric on offense. That whole offense with the great offensive mind like Cliff Kingsbury is just entirely fun to watch. I think this is going to be a lot of fun watching the battle for the NFC West. You have Seahawks who are 2-0, Cardinals who are 2-0, Rams who are 2-0. You're going to get a lot of good matchups out of this season, I think. Moving into the Rams, I think they're a contender. I think you could see these three teams that are 2-0 make the playoffs. You could have a team with three. This could be the division that sends three teams, especially with an expanded playoff format. Three teams from the NFC West go making the playoffs, being a contender that way. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, but I don't think it's unreasonable to say that. Okay, Packers 2-0. This is another team you could argue is beaten two of the worst teams in football. You beat up on the Minnesota Vikings. You beat up on the Detroit Lions. We're going to get to see a little bit how far this can go with them going up against the Saints, who I don't think are any great shakes, offensively wise. But I think the Packers are absolutely in contention to win their division. I'm going to talk about one of the other teams that are 2-0, but I think the Packers are in the catbird seat to win their division and secure a playoff spot because I don't believe in the Chicago Bears. So we'll roll into the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears 2-0. Beat the Lions, beat a Giants team, both who don't look to be very good right now. I don't trust Mitch Trubisky. I know he had that great fourth quarter against the Lions. Lions defense is one of the worst in football. I don't believe the sustainability of this. I think the Bears will falter, fail. They'll switch to Nick Foles, which will only expedite their failings because I don't think Nick Foles is any great shakes. And it would take time for him to get ready in game situations with the Bears' weapons on offense. Bears, I think, are absolute pretender. I haven't given a whole lot of pretenders. I think I've only done that with them. And the Steelers a little bit. But Bears are pretenders. I think for sure they are the pretenders of this. Bills 2-0. You know, you can argue that, I mean, again, beat up on some bad teams, but you still got to do it sometimes. Bills, I think, are absolutely going to win this division. I understand the Patriots pose a huge threat, but I think the Bills all around with their defense, with Josh Allen playing better early so far, Bills need to get their run game going, but I think the Bills are an absolute contender. I really hope that Josh Allen, who basically limited them last year, takes that other step because I really like Sean McDermott, the head coach. I love how he coaches his team. I think the Bills are super good on defense. Will again be really good on defense. Haven't shown it as much so far this season. Steph Diggs, John Brown, you have a bunch of weapons on offense. I think the Bills can absolutely contend and win their division. So yeah, those are my contender teams that are 2-0. Let's go to the can they recover group. Teams who are winless, and it's going to be the same basis. Can these teams recover to make the playoffs? Vikings, I do not believe they can recover. I think they look bewildered. I don't know that they know that football's happening. I think they might still be home during the shutdown, playing video games and hanging out with their kids and stuff like that. It's like they gotta wake up if they have any chance, which I don't think they will do. I think they will falter. I think they will definitely be in the stakes for drafting a quarterback because I don't view how they're going to win a whole lot of games. All right, Lions 0-2. They will not recover. They will not have any chance of making the playoffs. This regime here is toast. Matt Stafford looks done. This defense is absolutely atrocious. It is borderline. You know, I mean, the defense last year was worse than the 0-16 season. This may be worse than last year's defense, considering that the scheme is ridiculous with three-man rushes, man-to-man covers. I don't get it. Bengals 0-2. I don't think they can recover, but they are a lot of fun to watch. If you're listening to this podcast and there are national TV games with the Bengals, or you have a chance to watch a Bengals game, I highly encourage you to do it, because you may notice, though, they won't win a whole lot of games, but they will be uber competitive, in my opinion, the way Joe Burrow is and the way that offense is able to, throw the football all over the yard. I mean, they've come out the first 2 weeks and they've thrown 100 passes in 2 weeks. Joe Burrow threw 60 passes on Thursday Night Football last week. I don't think they can recover, but I think they will definitely be fun to watch. Okay, Dolphins 0-2. They're out of this thing. I thought if there was any chance of the Dolphins trying to salvaging their season, it was going to be against the Bills. They played up. They played well. But eventually you will see them start Tua Tagovailoa, and you're not going to win a whole lot of games with a rookie quarterback. You weren't going to win a whole lot of games with Ryan Fitzpatrick. But I do think that Brian Flores is doing a good job. They're playing better. They're running the football a little bit better. That defense is improving, which is Flores' calling card. I think they're really well coached. They may be, and I think they'll be more fun to watch later in the season when they eventually go to Tua and start trying to build and get him some meaningful reps. Jets 0-2. I think they are in prime position to get the number 1 overall pick. I don't. Their schedule's brutal. This is the same thing they did with Mark Sanchez, to be honest with you. Draft a quarterback, give him less, take away his help as the seasons progress. Sam Darnold has really no help on the offense. The defense sucks. Wind. Jets are out of it, and I really don't want to watch a whole lot of games with them because they're just not fun to watch and they suck. All right, Texans 0-2. Texans open up with arguably the 2 best teams in football. They are 0-2. They get the, after starting with the 2 toughest teams in football, they get the privilege to play the Pittsburgh Steelers against that defensive front, and yeah, not fun. I think the Texans can recover. I mean, there was 2 seasons ago they started off 0-3, then they ripped off 10 straight and made the playoffs and got butchered in the first round by the Colts, but still, it's like I think they can, if they can figure out their passing game even a little bit, have their offense be able to score some points and help that defense, who's not very good but has been put on the field way too much this season. I think they can recover, and I think they will, considering the AFC South is just not good. I think Texans can recover, is my bottom line. All right, Broncos 0-2. Drew Lock's done for the next month at least. I think they cannot recover. I thought they should have won the Tennessee game. Obviously, they didn't. They had their head up their asses. And then when Drew Lock goes down, they fought like hell against the Steelers, but Jeff Driscoll's just not going to lead you to a win in Pittsburgh against that defense. So I didn't have a whole lot of pretenders on the pretender-contender, and I didn't have a whole lot of teams being able to recover from 0-2. I guess it was kind of one-sided for each of those, but I thought it was definitely interesting to go through and talk about it, and see how my opinions progress, and see how these teams that are winless and who don't have a loss yet go about the rest of their season. So those are my thoughts. If you have contrary thoughts or you think I'm a complete idiot, which is fine, I'm sure I'll be made stupid on some of these as the season goes along, please feel free to comment, and thank you for listening.